Alright, in today's video I'm going to be going over why trading has become psychological, not technical anymore. And again, it's mental. Trading is more mental than physical. At the end of the day, mentally, you have to hold the trade. Mentally, you have to be waiting, being patient to, execute on your system whenever it's presenting itself. Physical, all you do is push, buy or sell. You set the limit order or take profit, stop loss, take a partial. That's all you do, bro. That's the only physical things you do whenever you're trading. Mentally, though, is where it's at. How much risk are you putting on? How are you calculating how much risk you want to put on depending on the trade? You know what I'm saying? Or why is this trade set up? Why is it following your system? How is it like following your system? What market conditions is it making it more high probability than the last loss, or last win? You know what I'm saying? So like all these factors are like you have to be putting them into consideration, and they're all again just like mental. Being patient is mental. Holding the trade is mental. Entering the trade is mental. All these things are more mental than it's physical, and so trading is always going to be more mental than physical, and that's why it's so important to develop your mind whenever you're becoming a trader. And if you want to be a successful trader, you have to be willing to develop your mind. You have to be willing to meditate, to journal, to review and reflect yourself, because trading will reflect your flaws, and it's very important to understand your flaws. And one of the hurdles I have to face right now in trading is following my trading rules. So I have a trading system, and on certain days I don't follow my trading system. So if you go back to my trade recaps on the second channel, as of recently I blew one of my combines, and I'm down on the other one around 1%, and it's because I'm not following my trading rules. When I do follow my trading rules, I'm proud of myself, but when I'm not following my trading rules, I'm disappointed in myself, and I'm telling myself, why did you not follow your trading rules? Like this type of trade you took on this day that made you lose wasn't really what you should have been doing, or like the trade you should have been taking in the first place. And you have to be willing to understand the emotional state that causes you to do that. And for me on that day, which was Friday, was having FOMO, being impatient, and feeling like I missed out. So then eventually I had greed in my mind. I wanted to make back what the market didn't give me, basically, because I missed the move. I missed majority of the move, and I felt like I needed to catch something, but in reality my trading system wasn't there. It wasn't presented. So when it's not presented, I just felt some form of like the market owed me to present it, because it was moving but the system wasn't there. It's a weird explanation. I can't explain it, but that's what I felt. And understanding why do I want to rush the process? It's because I want to make trading my full-time income and be successful. But again, it was all a learning process. Every time I take a loss, or I really reevaluate the day, even if I win, I still view it as a learning process no matter what, because at the end of the day, everything you're doing is a learning process. You're never going to be able to stop learning, and you're never going to be able to stop developing yourself, especially in trading. So it's very important to always be reflecting and journaling and trying to understand what you can do better, because you can always be doing something better. Another one of the hurdles I face is my trade management. So I know a lot of people have an issue with moving the stop to break even, or they're risking too much, or you take partials too soon, or you take the profit, you close the trade too early. One of those scenarios, and this happens a lot usually if I'm not following my system once more. So if I'm not, it stands it's like a little pyramid. It correlates. Like if you're not doing one thing, the other one happens, and the other one happens. So if I'm not following my trading system, usually I tend to close the trade really early, because I know my intuition is telling me this isn't a good trade, or even if it does work out, you're not going to be proud of yourself for taking this trade. So the sooner you can get out, the better, even if it's for a loss. Usually that's what happens sometimes. But whenever I am trading my system, I tend to want to move the stop to break even, minimize the loss, and do no damage, because again, I'm afraid of the damage. And I'm afraid of being wrong, but that's part of the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna have to be willing to accept the loss and accept that you were wrong, or the market conditions weren't the best, so you got stopped out. Even though you were right. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes you may be right. Your higher time frame draw, your higher time frame bias may be right, but just the market stops you out. Lower time frame, it was just unprobable conditions, and you entered at the wrong time. And it happens, bro, and it happens multiple times to me. And yeah, that's one of the main things that I'm trying to work on, is my trade management, for sure. And then another one is backing my beliefs. So again, I'm reprogramming my mind. I'm instilling these beliefs that I am a profitable trader. I'm learning every day. I'm evolving. I'm getting one step closer to becoming the best version of myself, and just evolving. Evolution is happening, even if you think it's not. It is. But back in our beliefs, I sometimes you will have doubt whenever you lose. you have doubt. I have doubt, you know what I'm saying? So like whenever I take a loss, I doubt myself sometimes, you know, like, am I really gonna make this work? Is this really gonna work? The only way to like really face this doubt is to outwork the doubt, by putting in more work, by reviewing your trades, by back testing, by analyzing, by refining your system. By doing all these things, you really outwork the doubt. And the more you do that, the more work you put in, the better the results will be. And it's simple as that. And I've proven it to myself. I feel like I've made the most amount of progress in the past 3 weeks than I have this whole entire year, if I'm being truly honest, because the quality of my work compared to the quantity of time, it doesn't, you know, like the quality was there. Those 3 weeks, I've put in so much work, and the quantity of those 3 weeks compared to throughout the whole year, I've outworked, done way more than I have this whole entire year. And if I'm being truly honest, especially with trading, you know, and it's bizarre to me that if I keep this up, I'm afraid of, you know, what the rest of the year is going to look like. You know, at the end of the year, where am I going to be at? What am I going to be doing? Who am I going to be? You know, like it's scary, you know. I want to end this video off with telling you guys what I plan on doing to become better psychologically when it comes to trading. And that's doubling down on what works already for me. So people get the misconception that if it's not working, you switch it up, you know, or if you take one L, if you have like a losing month, you switch it up. No, don't ever do that. Don't, you know, why would you want to switch up what works for you? You know, it makes no sense. And if it usually doesn't work, like you have to really do a deep dive. Like, what did you do wrong? Was there like any sort of like emotional state you were going through, or like certain things like that? If it, you know, if it was like following your system and you do something wrong, then that's on you. You know, but if the system fails, that's on you too, you know, because you created the system. You can refine the system, and you can like analyze and take that mistake and refine the system and make the system better. You don't have to hit a full 180 and change the whole system. And that's basically what I plan on doing, is doubling down on my system. Every time I take a loss following the system, I'm gonna review it. Every time I take a loss now following the system, I'm gonna review it too, you know, at the same time, because I'm at the work on both sides. I'm at the work on the psychological side and the technical side. But right now, the harder side is the psychological one. That's what the video is basically all about. You know, technically wise, I'm there. You know, back testing, I see the results. You know, live trading, I see the results. But it's the consistency that's not there. You know, it's inconsistency. I'm taking wins here. You know, if I'm having a 3% win, next day I'm having a 2% loss. You know, like it doesn't make sense. So. And that's because I'm not following the system. One day I'm following it, the next day I'm not. I'm being impatient. I'm rushing the results. And I'm really planning on working on that too, my patience. So like I've been meditating. I've been, you know, doing all these things to really try and build my patience, and just trying to distract myself a little bit more from trading. But at the same time, that's not really helping, if I'm if I'm being truly honest. Because again, that's all I'm really thinking about is trading. It is unhealthy because like that kind of ties into what I'm like trying to fix, is basically rush the process. If the only thing that's gonna be able to stop that, if it's like I take that away from my mind, but at the same time, like I want to continue putting in more work, because there's other areas where, you know, like maybe I'm doubting myself, or maybe I feel like I'm getting rusty, you know, when it comes to trading, and I just really want to prove myself to myself, you know. So that's kind of another reason why I just continue to rush it. That's another thing. I'm just really trying to build the patience of just like not trying to rush the results, you know, having patience and sticking through to what works, and trying to double down on basically what works for me, and just refining it and building upon it. That's really it. So that's basically the video. It's all psychological, not technical. I have my playbook. I know what I'm looking for. I'm refining my playbook. I'm refining my trading journal. But now it's really just refining my psychological aspect, you know, like building a lesson log, building the gallery for the trading or the playbook, checking in with myself, you know, mentally, you know, like seeing what I'm doing wrong, what I'm doing right in a trade, you know, before I take a trade, after I'm taking a trade, you know, and all those certain things, you know, like I'm really trying to hone in and like dive deep into these things, because like you have to, bro. If you want to be successful, you have to be doing the little things, because the little things build up and they build the big picture. So yeah, it's a fun process, I won't lie. You know, the journey is pretty much the fun part, you know. Like I feel like one day whenever I'm reviewing all these videos, like all these vlogs, the trade recaps, like I look back on it, one of those moments where like, damn, I should have appreciated that more, you know, like I should have appreciated these moments more, because now we have everything you wanted, and there's no fun, you know. Like the only fun thing is getting to where you want to be, you know, and that's the thrill, you know. But after you get what you want, usually that's kind of the boring part, I should say. But you got to still keep going, because there's always new heights, new limits to reach, to break. And but the little rocket taking off, you know, that's the fun part.